Hey y'all, I'm Sarah. Welcome to another episode of Widow Wit and Wisdom. Today I thought I would finally share with y'all the guts of grief, the strength that it takes to pick yourself up off of that floor after losing the absolute love of your life. To be able to take that next breath takes guts, it takes strength. And where does that come from? Let's dive into that today on this episode of Widow Wit and Wisdom. I will share with you a little bit of the guts and strength and how I've handled it in my grief journey. So hopefully maybe you can learn from it too, gain a little bit more strength of your own. But buckle up, buttercups, because my journey had a lot of guts and I'm going to spill mine with you today. Okay, so as always, quick disclaimer, trigger warning, just because I'm me and I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I am sharing all of my journey with you as well as what I've learned along the way. Mind that part, learned along the way, okay? So please don't judge my journey. Please don't judge anything that you may see or hear, because I'm not going to judge you. Please don't judge me. This is just who I am and how I react to things and how I get through the gutsy part of my grief. So please, if anything mean to say, keep it to yourself, okay? Inside voice only. You don't need to share it with the world. However, if you need to find a little more strength in your journey, let's get started. So, for anyone still watching, y'all, I gotta tell you, if you have not dealt firsthand with having to take that first breath in a world where the person that you loved most no longer exists, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about here. It takes guts. Now, don't get me wrong. That first breath that you take is just instinctively your body gasping. But the second one, you have to make a choice if you're going to take it or not. And that can be tough when you are face down on the floor and absolutely shattered. It takes guts to take that second breath. It's not easy. So to anyone out there doing that, you are a badass. You are so strong. And I know you don't want to hear that. I hated in my early widowhood hearing that. Oh, you're so strong. Because inside I was like, no, I'm not. I was just like crying for 30 minutes in the parking lot before I came in here. That is not strong. But I still do that. But yes, it is. But I've had 9 years of experience with it now. In early widowhood, anytime someone, would say, oh, you're so strong and you're dealing with this so well. And I would just on the inside be like, no, stop saying that. It would make me feel worse, or like I had to try harder and try to be stronger when I did not feel like I could. And so it was pressure, and it was as much of a compliment as I know people are trying to say with that. It felt more like more pressure, and it hurt. And I was like, I don't want to be strong. I get that this looks like it, but I don't want to be strong. I didn't choose this. Like, I don't even know how I'm doing this. And so, yeah, in early widowhood, it was definitely hard to hear that you're so strong. In fact, I recently sat down while I was doing my grief coaching class stuff, and one of our assignments was to write a letter to your new widowed self. And so I sat down and did that, and I did a journal entry on the video, and I started with simply, girl, I know you're not going to believe this, but we're still here 9 years later. I know you don't want to hear that. And I also got to tell you, another thing you're really not going to want to hear is you are strong as fuck. And I want to say that to every new widow out there. I know you don't want to hear it, but you are strong as fuck because you are still taking those breaths. It takes all the guts and all the strength. And I know a lot of times I didn't know where it was coming from. I did not know how I was doing it. Now, 9 years in, while I've been sitting here and doing all this research and going back through my stuff for the grief coaching, I began to see how I did it. I began to see where my strengths were and where that guts came from. So I will share with y'all now what my top 5 strengths turned out to be when I had to take a survey about that in my course because they were helpful, but I did not know some of these were strengths. So this past fall, I was doing my grief coaching certification, and as part of that, we're actually doing the model ourselves and doing the assignments and the homework. And one of those was, of course, to find your strengths. And that is something I do with my clients. We find what works best for you, where your strengths lie, and then use those to your advantage and find tools based on those strengths. And so we had to figure out what our strengths were. Now, during all of that, I was, of course, like going back to my early widowhood journals and all of that and really looking through it and like, where did the strength come from? What was I relying on? Because we had to say what we thought our strengths were. And then we had to go and take actual survey online to figure out what they actually were. And so I sat down and I'm looking at it. And of course, I came up with the God, guts, and grace thing, but where did the guts come from? Where did that strength come from? And so I wrote down before the class, I wrote down that it came from my DNA, like my mama and the woman she raised me to be, because she raised me to be a strong woman that does not break or bend. And I regularly scream out to her in my pain, like, why did you raise me to be so strong? I just want to break right now. So my DNA, my curiosity, the fact that I am always curious about why this hurts and how can I make it hurt less, that constant learning and wanting to learn how to make the pain less. And of course, being a runner, being an athlete who had trained hard for things, a distance runner in particular, mentally overcome by yourself in the middle of a race, like your time, your pace, you had to know where you were. You had to know how to run the hills really efficiently. And you got better at it through practice. And so the runner in me was like a big thing. And then, of course, I wrote down my humor, because at the end of the day, while that sounds terrible when you're talking about widowhood and grief, my humor really is one of my strengths, because I can always find a laugh, at least internally, if it's laughing at myself, like crying on the floor, to get me up off the floor. And it's that little shred of humor that always just kind of saves me. So those are what I had written down as my strengths. And then I took the survey. So here are my top 5 strengths according to the Survey of Character Strengths. Strength number 5, love of learning. You love learning new things, whether in a class or on your own. Pretty much on my own. I like experience. You have always loved school, reading, and museums. Anywhere and everywhere there is an opportunity to learn. I have not always loved school, but reading, museums, and any opportunity to learn, yes, absolutely all my life. My number 4 strength was kindness and generosity. It says you are kind and generous to others, and you are never too busy to do a favor. You enjoy doing good deeds for others, even if you do not know them well. And yes, that is true. Again, I put that back to like how my mom raised me. She was always going out of her way to do things for other people, and I was just a little kid that got drug along. So it was like normal to me, but yes, I do go out of my way always to be kind and generous. In early widowhood, that one was really hard. Strength number 3, appreciation of beauty and excellence. And I kind of went like, what? I read that one and I was like, what the hell kind of strength is that? But it says you notice and appreciate beauty, excellence, and or skilled performance in all domains of life, from nature to art to math to science to everyday experience. And that is true. I do. I am the kind of person that's going to step outside and be like, wow, those trees look great today. Or, oh, look at that pretty flower. I will notice it and appreciate it and be grateful that I got to see it. I am super grateful for every sunset that I get to see and every sunrise, because I find beauty in them. And I definitely find beauty in art. Maybe not math, but okay. But my second strength is gratitude. You are aware of the good things that happen to you, and you never take them for granted. Your friends and family members know that you are a grateful person because you always take the time to express your thanks. I am a very grateful person. I think grief has made that even more of a thing. I've always been the kind of person that's going to stop and take the moment and just go, oh, thank you, like, for this moment. I'm so glad I'm having it. In grief, it's hard to be grateful for those moments. But in hindsight, looking back at it, I have definitely learned something from it, and I've got to be grateful for that. But my top strength, and I did not realize that this was like actually a strength. I was joking when I wrote it down, of course. But my top strength is humor and playfulness. Shocking. Only that it is a strength. It wasn't shocking. You like to laugh and tease. Bringing smiles to other people is important to you. You try to see the light side of all situations. And that is so true. That has been me all of my life. And while widowhood paused that or changed that to rather dark ways, yes, humor and playfulness are how I diffuse myself and usually other people as well. Yeah, I would definitely say those are my strengths. And it was funny because they matched with what I wrote down before the class. So I was like, okay. But again, didn't realize some of those were actually strengths. And then some of the ones that I would have liked to have had higher on the list, they're pretty low, but they're still strengths. They're on there. Just lower down the list. But that's the whole goal. I'm working on it. But yeah, those strengths, especially those top 5 that they listed, I didn't realize at the time when I was in my early widowhood that those were strengths. But they were, because I know in the most painful moments, if I could find one shred of humor, one shred of something to be grateful for, even if it was that nothing broke that day, including me, then I could breathe another breath. And a lot of times that came from nature, especially. I spent a ton of time outside of my early widowhood just crying under the oak tree right here. And the oak tree has grown quite a lot, I think, because it got to soak up a lot of my tears. And the kindness and generosity is, I didn't really realize that was a strength, but it is something that brings me strength. Even when I am down and hurting, if I can do something kind for someone else, it does strengthen me. It does, even if I am dead tired, make me a little bit stronger when I show up for somebody else who needs it too, because I know what it's to be down in that darkness and I don't want them to do it alone. And so it brings me a little more strength to just keep going. And again, that love of learning has just been huge, because I have never stopped being curious about, why does my grief hurt? How can I make it hurt less? And just soaking up all that knowledge and then sharing it, using it in the best ways I possibly can, just to keep going every day. So yeah, definitely that love of learning has really helped a lot. And I would encourage others to really dive into whatever your strengths are. Hit me up. We will figure them out together as part of the coaching program, because that is one of the things I do. So 9 years in, yes, I can look back at that and go, those are my strengths and here's how I used them. As I was going through it though, in early widowhood, I did not know those were strengths and I was not using them very well. Okay. So there is hope out there for other new widows. Find where your strengths are, recognize them, and use them, because it takes so much guts to pick yourself up off of that floor and keep going, to choose to breathe every day when it feels absolutely hopeless and you just don't want to anymore. It takes all the guts to just keep going. And sometimes it takes all the guts just to keep your mouth shut when you are in that overwhelm and you can't handle it. That's keeping your mouth shut is a strength. But that part, that comes with the grace. And we will get to the grace on another episode, because it's taken a lot of grace to get from blessing people's hearts to bless your heart. So anyway, that will be on the next episode. But for right now, I thought I would get super vulnerable and share with you guys the recording I did back right at the 9-year anniversary of my husband's death, as part of one of my journal assignments, where I had to record a dear newly widowed self. So I'm going to share that with y'all. Again, please don't judge. This one is super personal. And it is just me talking to me how I would. Okay. But it does truly show the guts and the strength and the humor that it has taken to get through 9 years of widowhood. Buckle up. Whew. Okay. So, processing journal as part of my 9-year journaling processing. What would I say? Finn is snoring so loud in the background. I love my Frenchie. What would I say to my newly widowed self? Gosh, looking back at it again, having just gone through all the journals and emails and paperwork, feelings and emotions of all of this, kind of also on a grief coaching level, there's so much to say to her. There's so much to say to my newly widowed self. I don't even know where to start, girl. Of course, I'd have to start with, hey, 9 years in, we're still here. We got a lot to talk about, sis, because, whew, it's been a long 9 years, let me tell you. Wow, yeah, what would I say to my newly widowed self? Gosh, where to begin? We're still here 9 years in. I know you are not believing me and you don't want to be. You're like, no. Yeah, we're still here. But yeah, it's been a long road, but I'm going to tell you something else that you're not going to want to hear right now and that you don't like to hear right now because you do not feel it. It just gives you anxiety when people say this to you. But girl, you're strong as fuck. Let me tell you. Going back and just reading the things that you're writing right now, you have no idea how strong you are. This hellfire that you are walking through is going to forge that steel in your DNA into something that is so impenetrable that Satan himself sees you and says, let me hold the door for you. You're going to make it. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's going to be easy. You're sitting in hell. I'm sitting here now, 9 years in, going back and reading this stuff and just going, damn, wow. Yeah, that really happened. And geez, that was bad. But you're going to make it. You're still here. And let me tell you again, all of that forges something in you that just becomes, nothing can break you. All of a sudden, you know that is absolutely the worst pain ever in your life. You will never hurt like that again. And I'm here to tell you 9 years later, you will never hurt like that again. What is happening to you right now is as bad as it ever gets. And it is horrible. I'm not going to say it doesn't last for a long time. I'm not going to say it doesn't still hurt. It does. But every little breath you take and step forward that you make, it makes you even stronger. You know that. Right now, you are holding on to that runner's voice, just telling you, all I have to do is get to the top of this hill and I am done. You're still here 9 years later running those hills and telling yourself that same thing, I promise you. But now it's more of a, oh, look, there's another hill. Let's go. I'm not going to lie. It took a lot. It starts with just breathing your way through it. And you will. You will. You are going to lean into your faith, into every poem that you have held in your heart. You're going to use those for strength. You're going to lean on the meanings of things so much more now. And you're going to lean into the meaning of things so much more now. And that becomes your absolute strength. Your nature is so huge. It's what picks you up off the floor time and time again. Every time you're down there, every time you think, I can't take this anymore, somehow that protective nature in you, all that DNA and steel that you got from your mama, will stand up and say, pick on somebody your own size and then give them hell, because you have been through hell. You don't fear anything anymore. Not much can shake you, at least not for long. You find a way to figure it out, put the pieces together, find the patterns, and just figure out a way to keep moving forward. You're still doing it 9 years later. You're much more efficient at it now, much better tools. You've learned a lot. That's another one of your big strengths. You've written it all down and you're learning from what you went through. You're picking up those tools and using them every single day and practicing with them because you know that's what it takes. It's going to take you a while to get there. First, you got to crawl out of the bed and out from under great grandmother's quilt. That's going to take you a while, but that's okay. There's a lot of comfort in that quilt, but it's going to take a while, sis. But you'll get there. I promise. We're here 9 years later, still doing this. There's ups and downs. Shit, you're still fighting for your life sometimes. But you're doing it stronger and smarter because of what you are walking through right now. This hellfire. Just hold on. You're going to get through it. And you are going to come out the other side so much stronger. Trust me. And one other thing, though, about that hellfire, it does also totally burn up your filter. So we're still working on that one. Yeah, you have no filter. So all that shit that we think in our heads, it just comes out of our mouth now. But these days we are trying really hard to use it for more good than evil. I promise. We are trying to make it have purpose and use it in a good way. That's hard at first too, because that filter burnt up pretty quick. And oh, girl, boy, the things that it's going to get you into. But again, you're going to get through it, mostly because you can. You learn so much about shame and blame and judgment, and you go through that so much. And again, with the burning of the filter and the hellfire, you don't feel any of those things anymore on any level. Like, you don't really shame, blame, judge other people for what they're doing. Like, you may have a quick moment, but you really don't hold it against them because you just get it at this point, because again, you've been through hell. So you're much better at giving people grace. And very strangely, and again, I know you're not going to believe me with this one, girl, but you are much better at giving yourself that same grace now. That's been a big game changer. When that one hits, it feels a little bit better. But you're still not always good at giving yourself the same grace you give others. But again, working on it, practicing it, using those tools. Keep doing that. Again, right now, it's just that little runner's voice in your head trying to figure all this out. I know that. But hear me when I say 9 years in, we're still trying to figure it all out. But we're doing it. We're here. We're making it the best we can every day. And at this point, we know that the best we can do is the best we can every day. But at least we're trying to. And we are learning to give others the grace to know that they are probably trying to do the best they can too, because some days it's just really hard. And 9 years in, you just get that because of where you're sitting right now. That's why I know that and am able to do that now. So thank you for sitting in that hellfire, for holding on, because you're going to be here 9 years later. All that shit that it's terrifying you to think about right now, about the things that Jeff is going to miss, those things are starting to happen. We're at 9 years in. Our baby went away to the army and he missed that. Our oldest son got married and he missed that. Our grandbabies came and he missed that. Except he didn't. Because just like that Cohiba wrapper that I know you found by now, I saw it in the journal entries. And by the way, you still have that photo on your phone to this day. The signs just keep coming. That man never leaves your side for 1 second. And every time you are face down crying, God and Jeff hear you, honey, and they show you. Let that strengthen you a little bit, because the signs just don't stop, especially with Jeff. One of the biggest moments was at our son's wedding. You go into that with so much anxiety and so much fear and so much pain and heaviness in your heart that Jeff's not there, and just begging him to show up somehow, to just let us know that you are seeing this, that you are loving this. And he does. He does that. And in the most powerful way that moved every single person that knew the meaning of the song in that moment. All of us that were in the truck that night, so long ago, that sang that song together and had that moment, were in that room that night as Blake and I danced, except for Jeff. Jeff wasn't there to sing along with us. Until he was. I was begging Jeff, just let me feel that you are here. Please let him feel that you are here. And oh boy, did he. Because as the 5 of us that had been in the truck that night sang along to that song, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the whole room started singing as well. They filled Jeff's spot for just a minute at just the right moment. The signs just keep coming, sis. And they give you big things to hold on to and reasons. Those grandbabies, girl, we have the cutest 2 grandbabies. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. Oh my gosh. And when you play with them, you hear Jeff's laughter. Yes, your heart is going to long for him to be there, but it doesn't sink you to your knees like you think it's going to. Because again, he just keeps sending you all the signs that he's there. And it's verified, I promise. You're not crazy. In that early journal entry where you're asking yourself, like, I'm pretty sure I felt his presence when Cayman was setting that record. Like, I was really asking him to be there. Yes, years later, our son will in fact verify that his dad showed up in that moment just when he needed him most. And that he saw it, he felt it, it was there. It wasn't just you. Hang on to those moments, honey. Again, they are going to give you so much strength. You are going to keep making memories. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to help. It's going to be hard at first. It is uncomfortable to walk into rooms by yourself. But girl, you learn to do it like the queen you are. Because again, you have that strength, that steel, that mother in you, as in your mother, our mother. You can't quit. You know what to do. And even though it hurts, you will choose to do it again and again. You will never stop praying. I can promise you that. You will yell at Jeff and God a lot. You're right. It wasn't just in your head, sis. It was bad. But you're coming back. You're coming back. You never broke with God. And again, like Jeff, shows up for you with all the little signs. Keep you in line. you, you have just got to hold on. I promise you, the pain is going to be there forever. But just like you did as a runner, you're going to learn that the putting in those miles and the practice and doing it all the time makes that pain just so much lighter. His empty chair is always going to be there, but I get to choose to fill it with the happy memories of us that I'm so grateful for. And you and I have the best memories of him. And we were grateful for him in the moment. And that will help. I promise. Focus on that. For the moments that you laughed. And honestly, be grateful for the moments that you two fought. Because y'all had some good fights. And it will spark the fighter in you, which is so big these days. Bless anyone's heart who pokes it. Again, girl, that hellfire you're walking through, it's real. But so is that steel. 9 years later, you're still here. And you are finding the meaning in everything because of this pain that you are walking through right now. I promise. I know it's bad. I know you do not want to hang on and that you do not want to hear me say that you do. But again, you do. 9 years later, here we are. We're seeing the signs. We're doing the work. And I know you are on the floor, guts out, everything shattered and broken and thinking there is no way to put it back together. You are correct. You are never going to put it back together like it was, honey. Ever. The pieces are shattered. You got to figure out what to do with those pieces, and you will. And you hang on, because that mosaic you are making is gorgeous. You've taken those pieces and put them together in this stunning piece of art. And you keep adding to it. Look at those grandbabies. Look at all those signs you get to add to it. All those moments. The wedding, the army thing. You get to do that. And yeah, you're going to miss him. It's going to hurt. Your heart is always going to long for him to be there in those moments. But you will also know that he is. And that gives you so much strength on so many levels. Use that. Hold on to it. And continue to write them down. Write down every one of those moments, every one of those feelings. You're doing a good job. Because, wow, they're powerful. They're big. Even the small ones, they save you every day. Never let them go. It works. But you got to do the work, hon. You got to pick yourself up. I know it's hard. And it's going to get hard again. This last 9 years, again, has not been without struggle, bad choices, poor decisions. But yeah, you learn. You're going to learn from all of it. And just like Mom, when you learn something, knowledge is truly your power. You're still here. Just hold on. Wrap yourself in the quilt. Go crawl in bed with Mom while you can. And enjoy those moments. Savor them. Be grateful for them. There won't be many more, but they're going to get you through. And so is that faith of yours. That faith battle you had back there when Mama had dementia early on, it's going to pull you through, sis. Because right now I know what verse you're hanging on to. And trust me, it is still hanging on the refrigerator right now. You are holding tight in your heart and leaning hard on Exodus 22 through 24. You have it like on multiple places everywhere right now. I know you do. And I know exactly where you're aiming that shit right now. But trust me, that one, while it stays with you forever, obviously, as 9 years later, I just totally spewed it right out there. You see it in different ways now. Your perspective will change, your paradigm will shift. And the good thing is, you're okay with that. You were raised with that. You recognize it, you see it, and you get to be grateful for it, and you are. But right now, you've just got to hold on and get right here. You will. You can. It's going to be rough. But at 9 years in, I can assure you, sister, that no pain, no hurt, no suffering, nothing that will happen to you will ever hurt you in this last 9 years like you are hurting right now. You are right about that. But it is because you don't let it break you. Because you loved Jeff so much that you won't let anything break you. You're still here, 9 years in, still learning, still putting in the miles, doing the practice, doing the research, and figuring it out. You've got this. Hold on. You can. You will. And I promise it's going to be so much more beautiful than you could have ever hoped for. It looks different than you hoped, yes. But he's still here. He's still in every moment and every smile. And he shows us all the time. So hold on and make those memories where he can't. Be there so his memory doesn't fade. Stay. Hold on. You've got this. Promise. Because we're still here right now. You're going to make it. 9 years. I know that sounds so unbelievable to you. But yeah, a lot's happened. And you're still here, honey. And you're still funny. Probably a lot more witty and wise than you were before because you have learned so much. And now you are just totally unafraid to share it. Bless the world's heart with that one. When you hold on, changes everything. So, yeah, there was my vulnerable moment. I don't usually share those publicly. So again, please don't judge. But yeah, at 9 years in, that is truly the guts, the strength that it took to get through widowhood. So I hope that this episode was in some way insightful and helpful and maybe even hopeful to someone out there that is also struggling with grief and loss, especially widowhood, because it is not an easy road to go, especially by yourself. But I am here for you. If you need any help with your grief journey, please hit me up. I'd love to help you out with the coaching. You can email me at widowwitandwisdom@gmail.com for all your coaching needs or questions, but also share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what kind of insights you gained from it or what your strengths are and how you've used them. But I'll see y'all next time here at Widow Wit and Wisdom for the grace and bless your heart of it all. And as always, remember, be the light in someone's day, even if it is your own.